is on the way to see one of the biggest updates it's ever had. Just yesterday, OWI discussed some progress towards migrating the game engine from Unreal 4 to Unreal 5, along with many other leaks and updates on the way. So if you want to stay on top of all of this, be sure to hit the subscribe button, leave a like, and drop a comment down below with your thoughts, and let's get to it. So just a few weeks ago, I mentioned that OWI was going to be doing a stream on November 11th for Remembrance Day. And Siege, the community manager over at OWI, teased that if they did get enough donations towards their charity stream, they would leak some big information coming up, and that's what we have with Unreal 5 coming to Squad. And something that was emphasized on screen that I'm going to go ahead and sort of replicate here is that this is a migration of the game engine. Now, I'm by no means a game dev, nor can I explain this to you very effectively, but I would say that it's more of a transition to a new game engine versus overhauling the entire game in Unreal 5. This is a transition OWI is working on to improve areas of the game, including optimization. So what do they share about the process itself? Well, first of all, it looks like Albazar was entirely made within the Unreal 5 engine. And it looks like they worked on 2 factions to actually implement a lot of the testing that they need to do to progress the development. It also appears that in Stage 2, vehicle physics changes along with lighting technology are 2 of the focal points before going into Stage 3 to focus on optimization and fine-tuning. Now, what was important to share is that there are some risks and challenges attached to this. First of all, optimization and performance is a big hurdle still to cross. This is also going to demand a lot of resources, which could slow down the ability of getting new updates out there for the game while they focus on this transition. And according to Siege, there's a bunch of tools and things that they have to look into to see what best fits Squad itself. Now, we got to see some new images of Albazar, and I have to admit, it does look like it has a really incredible atmosphere. But more importantly, you'll notice different times of day, including in some of these images I'm sharing. And that's because it appears that they're working on a night and day time cycle for the game itself. Now, to better illustrate this, they did share a couple of videos. Let's take a look. Now in this, you'll notice that dynamic weather is also mentioned because that's another factor that they're looking at with Unreal 5. Not only can you see the northern lights in this image, but you get actual moving clouds and the sun coming up over the horizon. You may get the variety of having to play at different times of day, which create their own challenges. Now keep in mind, these videos appear to be time lapses, so everything is sped up, but it gives you some indication of what you may be dealing with at certain points during your round. For example, imagine having to roll out around dawn, and by the time you get into some of your major fights, the sun is a little bit higher, changing a little bit of the atmosphere around you. This wasn't necessarily something on my bingo card, but again, I feel like this adds a bit of variety here that was just unexpected and is welcomed. And you can tell just by the lighting and stuff like that, it's a very immersive space to play within. Let's talk a little bit about vehicle physics. This was brought on a little bit later in the stream, but this is really good to see. We all know those situations where you get on an incline and you just stall out basically when you're in your vehicle. But it appears that with UE5 that OWI has a little bit more control over how the vehicles can react to situations like this, and I know that many of you will be really happy to see some of these videos. Now let's remember, all of this is a work in progress and incomplete, but already you can start to see some differences in how the vehicles are reacting to the terrain around them, especially within the tracks. If this at least gives us the ability to not get stuck on some rocks and be able to maneuver a little bit differently, I think that will be a really nice thing to see. I also wonder how this can affect traction across the board with some vehicles that just don't seem to hold it very well. But this also appears to be something that they have to go into every vehicle and make those sort of adjustments. So this seems to be a time-consuming task, but also very rewarding, especially when the players get their hands on this. And maybe the most exciting one to see would be this: getting your tank out of a trench and over a trench, or some of these bumps that we often run into that cause us to have to alter our path or just throws us off our path entirely. So many of us have been in this type of situation that I'm really excited to see this, and I hope this is something that comes to fruition. Along with the example we share in the next clip, where the Sprite just runs into a wall, but instead of getting stuck, which has all happened to us, we actually can get over the wall. But then there was this tidbit.
We have had several discussions with the designer that's on my team about running into shit and just kind of dead stopping your vehicle, like this tiny little wooden fence post. I can't say details, but a solution will be in the works at some point, hopefully next year. I don't know what our estimated timeline to release that, but during our company summit this week, we explored a lot about different ways that we can solve this problem. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Now, I don't know exactly what they're referencing, but I have some ideas. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Now, we've been waiting on some news for Manpads and CAS helicopters, and we got a little bit of a tease of what to look forward to.
So you can see in the bottom right, it says Manpads prototype. And that's why it changes from an RPG to this weird ship thing.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Now, I think it's really neat to be able to see something in the atmosphere showing the rocket progression, which I feel like from the perspective of someone in the helicopter and seeing that rocket headed your way just by the trail is going to be an intimidating experience. Now, next up, let's take a look at another cast helicopter.
Right, here we go. This is a great video.
That head-up display that you have in front of you, does that have any effect?
Yes. I don't use it though. I think I can just gunfire like this. Yeah, I don't even do it.
Now, obviously, this is still in testing, but it's exciting to see progress towards another cast helicopter. I know that's been something that a lot of folks have asked for, and it looks like it's coming along. I'm really curious to see more cast helicopters added to see how it starts to affect how we play. Now, we also got a Q4 timeline for 2024. But as you can see, there's a few things that extend beyond just Unreal 5, including version 8.2, which we discussed recently in another video. We know that 8.2 is supposed to include some gunplay tuning, but attached to that also appears that there's going to be battle group balancing, along with updated PLA uniforms, invasion game mode standardization, a friends list added to squad, which we'll show in a second, and some other things, including bug fixes. Now, these appear to be some early renders of how the friends list would be implemented. And again, these are early renders, so this is not exactly how it'll look. But in review, you can see that this gives you some information about where your friends are playing, along with what faction they are on. So while maybe not everyone had this on their wish list, it is kind of interesting that these are like the two primary questions you hear in a Discord when people are trying to get together, meet up, and join a server. Now, it's always exciting to see some of the things that OWI is working on for Squad. While there's a bunch of stuff, including Manpads and more cast helicopters and plenty of other features that we've discussed here, the Unreal 5 aspect is pretty significant. Now, I know very little about game development, but I can understand that there's aspects of Unreal 5 that give OWI more strength and more power towards what they can do within the game, and potentially there's some efficiencies that can come out of that. There's probably a lot more there that I just don't know yet, so I'll have to do some more research. But probably some of the things that I'm most excited about are the vehicle physics and the weather and the lighting. I mean, already just seeing some of these samples of how the vehicle physics could change in Unreal 5 are significant because these are things that typically break immersion. You're driving along and you get stuck on a rock, or you get stuck on a wall, or you're just stuck in a trench and you can't do anything about it except get out of the vehicle and flip it, which sort of takes you out of the moment. And then speaking of immersion, you have the weather and the lighting, which I imagine would provide a ton of potential around how maps and replayability get factored in. While this may take a while and may require a bunch of patience, I'm really excited to see what all this develops into. And I'm also, of course, interested to see how optimization is able to help the performance with Unreal 5 as we move forward, but it's still too early to gauge that. So I'm expecting a lot more to be shared soon. So if you want to be at the forefront of hearing about it, be sure to hit the subscribe button, leave a like, drop a comment down below. What are you most excited about in these updates? And I'll see you next time.